With me now is Robin Sheppard. Robin has written a book called A Solitary Confinement. It's a stunning book for many, many reasons. Robin, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming along. One of the things that struck me, this book is about your story of your illness, an illness which I find almost impossible to pronounce. So perhaps you could just tell me what that illness was, first of all.
It's called Guillain-Barré syndrome.
Yes, we'll leave that one for a minute. But the effect of it is quite devastating, isn't it? So perhaps you could just explain, first of all, what actually happened.
Well, let's give it a slightly different title. If we call it GBS, it's easier to remember. It's an illness which strikes at random about 1,000 people a year in the UK, and it can hit one of any age or sex. It's indeterminate. Most of the cases seem to be triggered by flu or some sort of bronchial infection, and in my cases I had a dry cough. So very quickly I went from feeling slightly numb and tired to being paralysed from the neck downwards, which is scary.
I can imagine.
And what happens is that the body thinks it's under attack, the emails get jumbled up, and the immune system attacks itself. So it just strips all the nerve endings in your body, and your body just stops working. So I went from closing down in my fingertips to closing down into the whole frame. So
the only parts of you that were really functioning were your heart, obviously, because that kept beating, and your brain?
And my brain, but if you can picture a shrinking of all your motor skills so that your fingertips stop having any sensation except pain, you then find you can't walk. I fell over and couldn't get up again for 10 months. It's a scary old time, and of course when it's happening to you, you don't know what's going on. You have no reference point to say, oh, it's fine, it's GBS, it's just one of those things.
Oh yes, I'll get over that in a couple of years.
It was frightening.
I bet it was. One of the things that struck me in the book was your humour. You talk about this in a very humorous way. Was it your humour that kept you going?
That was my escape valve. Maybe the funny bone was the only part of me I could still feel in my body. I don't know, but I just found it much easier to see the absurd and the black in a whole host of situations. And thankfully, I had such a ribald set of friends who would come in and chastise me for my ineptitude that it was impossible to do anything but laugh at myself.
And your wife played a huge part, didn't she, in keeping you going?
Yes. And without that love and constancy, I know I would have been a complete wreck. So others forced me to behave and to recover. I had a duty to myself, but more important to them, I think.
Yeah, indeed. So what made you write the book?
I'd reached that point where the brain had continued active, but my body still wasn't working. I guess I was about 18 months in the recovery process. You can imagine how frustrating it is. You still don't have hands that work. And I thought I wanted to chronicle what had happened in case some of the images started to fade. Someone introduced me to voice-activated software, so I started to dictate through that. But amusingly, my son, who youngest one is the artist, gave me a paintbrush and some elastic bands, and we stuck this around my chin. So, for instance, the words Guillain-Barré isn't easily recognised by most computers, so I had to tap those in by nodding my head like a woodpecker. So if there's the odd mishap in terms of the spelling and pronunciation, blame my chin, no other part of me.
So you wrote this by chin rather than by...
A lot of it by
fingers.
chin, yes.
That's really quite amazing. Now you're going to read something for us, aren't you, from the book? Robin, thank you so much for coming in and talking about your book. We wish you every success with it. I'm sure it'll sell really well.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. This was the point when I thought I was popping my mortal coil. Breathing was getting shallower and more difficult by the hour, then by the minute. I wanted to fight, keep pushing out the old air and gulping down the new, sliding what air I could in while the alien force was slipping behind my tongue and shunting the oxygen out faster, then faster still. I could barely talk now. No surrender. I will fight this. The lull started to break. Batten down the hatches, there's a storm coming in. Here comes that moment when you're supposed to see all of your life go past you. Yes, here it comes. Can't breathe, can't speak. Pressure on my lungs. Jesus, Mary, no air. I'm drowning here. Help me, sweet Joseph. Could you answer this prayer? Gulping, gasping, distended lips mouthing like a freshly caught trout. My eyes rolling in their sockets. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. Falling, all the way down. It was Christmas Eve. Staff were running toward me in slow motion. The lights were going on and off, and there was an overwhelming white noise. Finally, my breathing collapsed, as though I was just dropping off to sleep, and that sudden sense of falling took me away. I wanted to shout, "Don't fret, it's only a myoclonic jerk, happens all the time." But all was rushing. There were trees ripped out of their Middle Earth, flying past my personal window. Branches were flaying. "I'm leaving. Cheerio. Ta-ta. Good night." I passed out. Life, real honest-to-goodness life, with its catastrophes, murders, and out-of-the-blue inheritances of inconceivable wealth, happens almost inevitably in newspapers. Surely life was not happening to me. Not now, not here. There was so much still to do. So many songs to sing, operas to write, and words to say. I don't want to be dead, but I just have died, I think. But if I'm thinking, I can't have. So where and what am I now? Open my eyes, listen, smell, there must be clues. I can't. Want to, still can't. All is surreal. Drifting like tumbleweed down a deserted Midwest street, out of control, captured by capricious winds, rolling over, then around, up and beyond any misplaced boulder, falling now, drifting away to different vistas.
What an amazing man. I'm overawed that Robin's come back from all of that and is here with us today. I'm just delighted that he's been able to share that with us. All the proceeds from the sale of his book will go to the GBS Society to help fight the illness and to raise funds for further research. So you can find out more about his book and all of our other books on the website thebookchannel.tv. And all of our authors have, as usual, left us signed copies of their books for our competition, so you can find out from the website how to win the book of your choice. And of course, I'll be here next time with more books, more authors, and more expert advice. Until then, happy reading.